Om Vishwandarpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyan Nijantargatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bahirivod Bhutayatha Nidraya Yasakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanamevaद्वयम् Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तन्तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः परब्रह्मनिष्ठं स्वतो धर्मनिष्ठम् अहिंसैकनिष्ठं स्वशिष्यै सुजुष्टं यतीनां वरिष्ठं गुरूणां गरिष्ठं दयानन्दरूपं मदाचार्यमीडे नमः श्री परमार्थाय संसाराध्यासनाशिने श्रोत्रिय ब्रह्मनिष्ठाय तस्मै ब्रह्मविदे नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Start with the Mangala Shloka. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Bhidhiyate. I welcome you all to the 40th class of the Fundamentals of Vedanta series. Tattva Bodha, the knowledge of reality, or alternatively, the knowledge of Atma, the knowledge of Brahman. Atma Jnanam, Brahma Jnanam. This is the text that we are looking at. And as we discussed, Tattva Bodha consists of 6 parts. The first part outlines the qualifications, the sadhana chatushtaya sampattihi. The second part is a small sentence that summarizes the essence of Vedanta. Atma satyam tadanyat sarvam mithyeti. Then it gets into jiva vicharaha in the third part. The fourth part deals with srishti vicharaha or samashti vicharaha. The jiva vicharaha can also be called vyashti vicharaha, means inquiry into this microcosm, this individual. The srishti vicharaha can be called samashti vichara also, which is inquiry into the macrocosm or the total. And then in the fifth part, there is jivatma, paramatma, aikya vicharaha or mahavakya vicharaha. And in the final part, there is this jnana phalam. So in the last class, we were looking into jiva vicharaha. And why did we get into this? Because in the summary, in the Sangraha Vakyam, it said, Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti. So we said that it tells me the final vision, that this Atma is the Satyam and everything else is Mithya. And the implications of this are enormous. Because Atma is basically the real meaning of the word I. This I, this word I have been using all my life. This is what it means, Atma. This is what it really means. So if I am the Satyam and everything else is Mithya, then that itself is moksha, we said. That understanding is moksha. That is the Purnatvam that we have been talking about. Because as we studied in the third Satyam and Mithya principle, that Satyam, the nature of Satyam, the character of Satyam, the fundamental unalterable character of Satyam is that Satyam is unaffected by Mithya. A dent in the bangle can never affect the gold. Mirage water can never wet the sand. Whatever happens in a lower order of reality cannot affect the higher order of reality. The dream can never affect the waker fundamentally. And this being the case, if I understand that I am this Satyam and everything else is Mithya, then the job is done. Because whatever happens, I am unaffected. All the sense of Apurnatvam is caused due to Mithya only. And if I understand that everything is Mithya, then I am Purnaha. As Satyam, I am Purnaha. I am full, complete, limitless. So my nature is really this moksha, this Purnatvam. Being Satyam, my nature is moksha. There is no moksha to be really gained. There is just this understanding, this knowledge to be gained that my nature is moksha, my nature is Purnatvam. That is why we say that jnanam alone liberates. This jnanam atma satyam tadanyat sarvam mithyeti. But then for the majority of us, like we said, when Vedanta says it, it sounds incredulous, hard to digest, because I feel I am this puny creature in this big wide world, 40 billion light years across. How can I be the Satyam? So there's this disconnect between Vedanta vision of who I am versus my own vision of who I am. So Vedanta points out that this disconnect is because of ajnanam and adhyasa. It is because of ignorance and superimposition. Here is a rope. Somebody tells me, here is a rope. I keep saying, no, no, this is most definitely a snake. There's a disconnect between what he is seeing and what I am seeing. So there is this self non-apprehension that leads to self misapprehension. Non-understanding leads to misunderstanding. Therefore, the student himself asks that, okay, you're telling me that I have misunderstood myself, so you tell me who I am. Atma kaha. What is the Atma? Who am I? And that's where Tattvabodha, the Guru, replies, Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirad Vyatiriktaha Panchakoshatita San Avastatraya Sakshi Satchidananda Swarupa Sanyas Tishtati Sa Atma. So, this Anatma, the not I, is divided into three categories. The Sharira Trayam, the three bodies, Sthula, Sukshma, and Karana Sharira. Then Panchakoshas, Kosha Panchakam, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya Koshas. And Avastha Trayam, the state of waking, dream, and deep sleep. As we said, this reply comprises of three negations and one definition. Why are there these three negations? Because those three anatmas are the places where I do the mix-up. They are the sources of my confusion. Just as we said when trying to teach a child what is gold, I only have a bangle, necklace, and ring. The child is looking at the bangle, necklace, and ring and asking, where is the gold? So, what this means is that when one is captivated by the Nama Rupas, then one misses the Satyam. And that is why the negation is required to tell the child that, hey, the gold, this is not the necklace, not the bangle, not the ring. The gold is other than these three because the gold has its own independent existence. And then there is a definition that says, do you see the shiny, yellow, smooth metal underlying the bangle, the necklace, and the ring? That is the gold. So here, similarly, the Atma has to be pointed out. The Atma is right there where the Anatma is. The gold is right there where the ornaments are. So he points out these three negations. Shariratrayam, Kosha Panchakam, and Avasthatrayam. So 3 plus 5 plus 3, 11 anatmas are negated. And then the definition is pointed out, Satchidananda Swarupa San. So Atma is of the nature of existence, Sat. Chit, nature of consciousness. And Ananda, it is full, complete, limitless of the nature of happiness. So now I have to understand what are the things that I am negating. So the Tattva Bodha has given me the pointer that all of these need to be negated. You are getting stuck at these levels. These need to be negated. Now I have to really negate them in my understanding. I have to understand why the Sharira Trayam is not the Atma. Why the Kosha Panchakam is not the Atma? Why this Avastha Trayam is not the Atma? That is why more elaboration is required, a deeper dive is required into the areas that I am negating. Like we said, if I have to get the Surya Kanta jewel from this jewel box comprising of multiple jewels, then I have to know the non-Surya Kantas as a non-Surya Kantas so that I can sift through all that is not the Surya Kanta to identify the Surya Kanta. So I have to know the Anatma as Anatma so that I can then alter my vision of who I am to not include those Anatmas in my understanding of who I am. That is why the student then asks, Stula Shariram Kim? What is this Stula Sharira? You're getting into each of the anatmas. To which the Guru replies, Panchikrita Panchamahabhutaih Kritam Satkarma Janyam सुखदुःखादि भोगायतनं शरीरम् अस्ति जायते वर्धते विपरिणमते अपक्षीयते विनश्यतीति षड्विकारवत् एतत् स्थूल शरीरम्. So each of these three bodies are taken up and analyzed from the perspective of five criteria. That perceptibility, causes, function, constituents, and nature. Perceptibility, causes, function, constituents, and the nature of that shariram. So let us take the Stula Shariram. The very word Stula Shariram conveys what the perceptibility is. Stula means it's gross, it's available for the senses. So it is available for my senses and it is available for the senses of others also. Stula Shariram. Then what are its causes? It says, Panchīkrita Panchamaha Bhutaih Kritam Sat Karma Janyam. So it is made up of 5 elements. Panchīkrita Panchamaha Bhutaih Kritam. As we said, this gives 2 sets of causes. One is the Samanya Karanam and the other is the Vishesha Karanam. Just like houses are made of these 5 materials: bricks, cement, steel, wood, and glass. So all the houses, they're generally made of these 5 materials. But then each house also looks different. And the reason it looks different is because the architect has a certain plan in mind. So similarly, so therefore, these 5 raw materials that go into making all the houses would be called the Samanya Karanam, but the plan that determines the specifics of the house would be the Vishesha Karanam. So here too, there is a Samanya Karanam and Vishesha Karanam. Panchīkrita Panchamahabhuta are the Samanya Karanam. Akashaha, Vayuhu, Agnihi, Jalam, and Prithvi. The 5 elements. And it says Panchīkrita because these are the grossified 5 elements. Because there are the subtler 5 elements also. They are first the subtle 5 elements are there, and then they combine in a certain way in a process called Panchikaranam that leads to the grossified 5 elements, which are visible to the senses. So apanchikrita panchamahabhutas are not visible to the senses, but the panchikrita panchamahabhutas are visible to the senses. So panchikrita panchamahabhutaih kritam. This is the samanya karanam. And then what is the vishesha karanam? Sat karma janyam. Karma is the vishesha karanam. So as we saw in our discussion of the law of karma, once an individual passes away, the body, the physical body perishes. Then the prarabdha karma, which is the next bundle of karmas that are fructifying from the total bundle of karmas known as sanchita. Total bundle of karmas is called sanchita karma. From that, there is a small subset called the prarabdha karma that has begun fructifying, and the prarabdha karma determines the plan for the next body. So sat karma janyam. Why sat? He said that jantunam nara janma durlabham. Amongst all the beings, this human birth is very rare. Why is it said to be rare? Because it requires a certain amount of punya. Therefore, it is sat karma janyam. The Viveka Chudamani says, Manushyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshayaha durlabham trayamevaitat daivanugrah hetukam. So the Manushyatvam, because of daivanugraha hetukam, is due to the grace of Ishvara. And that is grace of Ishvara, is not something arbitrary, but it's basically the karma phalam, one's own karma phalam that we say comes in the form of grace of Ishvara. The Sat Karma Janyam. And what is its function? Sukha Dukkhadi Bhogayatanam. It's an ayatanam, meaning an abode. And we took the example of this person who's getting transferred from one city to another on a transferable job. So when he goes to a new city, he has to rent out a place or acquire a place. And this person operates from that place, from that residence. The residence has got doors and windows. You can look out through the windows, interact with others through the windows, you can go out through the door and come back. Similarly, this body with its openings. It is an ayatanam where the Jivatma resides and interacts with the world. And what kind of experiences does the Jivatma get in this abode? Sukha dukkhadi bhoga. Experiences which are sukha and dukkha. Again, determined by the prarabdha karma. So the prarabdha karma is responsible for the plan of this abode. And the prarabdha karma is also responsible for what types of sukha and dukkha experiences this person gets in the abode. As in the case of this transferable employee, when his job in the city is done, then he has to vacate and hand over the keys. The prarabdha karma, again, when it's exhausted, that means that the job is done. The job in the abode, this residence is done. At that point, one has to vacate this. The Jivatma vacates. And then this Stula Shariram falls dead. So this is the function. What are the constituents? In this particular case, the constituents are not explicitly mentioned. But we have to understand the constituents as being the physical seat of the organs of knowledge and the organs of action. The Jnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas are really a part of the Sukshma Shariram that will come later. But the physical golakas from which these Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas operate, they are in the physical body. So this physical seat of the organ of vision, the eyes, similarly the ears, the seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, the physical seat of those organs is in the gross body. Similarly, the physical seat through which the karmendriyas function, the organs of grasping, the organs of locomotion. So they are in the physical body, the organ of evacuation, etc. All of those we'll come to it. So these are the constituents. And then what is the nature? What is the nature of this body? So as we have seen, the nature of something is that which cannot be changed, which is not changeable. When we say that the nature of fire is heat, it means that heat cannot be separated from fire. The fire will not lose its heat under any circumstance. The nature of sugar is sweetness, means that sweetness cannot be separated from sugar. It is not a quality that comes and goes. It is an inherent quality. It is fundamental to the thing that we are talking about. It cannot be changed. It's unalterable. So what is the nature of this sthula shariram? It is shad vikaravat. Means it has got these sixfold modifications. Having these sixfold modifications is the nature of any sthula shariram. asti. It exists in a small form initially. If we take the body, we said it exists in the small form in the womb. And we can even see in the ultrasound the heart. It beats really fast. It is the embryo that the heart, it beats at twice the speed, or probably a much higher speed compared to the mother's heart. And one can even see it vibrating in the ultrasound. Asti. And then it grows in the womb. It grows based on the annam consumed by the mother. The Annamaya Kosha, it has to grow based on annam only. As long as it is in the womb, it's in asti avastha, asti. It is not yet visible to others. Then jayate, it's born. Once it's born, the cord is cut. The umbilical cord is cut. Jayate, it's now born. And then it continues to grow. Like we said, the small baby turns into a sumo wrestler. Vardhate. And there is a transformation that happens as one goes from adolescence to adulthood. Viparinamate. And the body is stable for some time. But then disintegration begins to set in. Once one is middle aged, and disintegration begins to set in. Apakshiyate. And finally, as we said, rogadina shiryamanatvat shariram. The word shariram itself means that something that which is subject to being destroyed by roga, etc., by disease, etc. That is the sharir. For vinashyati. These are the sixfold modifications, and we said that this is inherent in every sthula sharira. It is impossible to change this. This is the nature of the sthula sharira. So now I have taken myself to be this sthula sharira. I say I am this body. And this is an obstacle to understanding the statement of Vedanta that Atma is Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti. As we said, there's this disconnect between Vedanta's vision of who I am versus my vision of who I am. I am saying I am this body. And therefore, Vedanta's statement doesn't make sense to me. This is where we say that further teaching is required. Further teaching is required to show me why I am not this body. So this is where the prakriyas of Vedanta come in. Prakriya. Prakriya means a method of teaching. A method of teaching that leads to the appreciation of the truth, that leads to the appreciation of the message of Vedanta. So this is called a prakriya. So here, there is a certain prakriya that is useful in seeing how I am not this body. What is Vedanta really talking about? And this prakriya is called Drg Drshya Viveka. So it's a Viveka. Viveka means discrimination, separation, as we have seen earlier. Why Viveka is one of the qualifications. One has to be able to do this fine discrimination, as we said. Like we said, the jeweler has to be able to take this diamond and then separate the real diamonds and the fake diamonds. This discriminative thinking has to be done. Whenever we talk about Viveka, there's always a question of what, separating what from what. Like we discussed, Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. One has to have some sense of what is the Anitya, what is Nitya, what is transient, what is ephemeral versus what is imperishable. So here, what is talked about is Drg Drshya Viveka. The discrimination, the separation of the seer and the seen. Drig means the seer, Drshyam means the seen. So if we take any experience in our life, it can be reduced to two things. There is a seer, there is a seen, there is an observer, there is the observed. There is a knower, there is the known. So it's a very powerful paradigm because all my experiences fall into this categorization of Drig versus Drishyam. That's why Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya says in Brahma Jnanavali Mala, that's the text, Brahma Jnanavali Mala. There, Bhagavad Pada says, Drg Drshya Dvau Padarthau Staha Paraspara Vilakshanau Drg Brahma Drishyam Mayeti Sarva Vedanta Dindimaha. So Drg Drshya Dvau Padarthau Staha. There are only two padarthas in this entire world. In the entire cosmos, there are only two padarthas. Drig and Drishyam. Drg Drishyau dvau padarthau staha. Padartha means the meaning of a word. Pada means word, artha means meaning. The meaning of a word is called padartha. So anything in this, whatever we take, it can be called a padartha because I can give it a certain name. So anything we can take here, it can be called a padartha because it can be named. So the entire thing can be reduced to two padarthas, Drig and Drshyam. Nothing else is there. Drig Drshyau dvau padarthau staha paraspara vilakshanau. And they are of opposite nature. Drig and Drshyam are of totally opposite nature. One is of the nature of consciousness, the other is inert, Jadam. One is the seer, the other is the seen. One is imperishable, the other is perishable, changing. They are of opposite natures. So if I take any of my experiences, then I am there as a knower, as the Drik. And whatever I see, that's the Drshyam. Now, what this Drg Drshya Viveka tells me is two principles of Drg Drshya Viveka. That what is known is always different from the knower. Paraspara Vilakshana. They are of opposite attributes, opposite character. And hence they are separate. So the knower is always different from the known. This is the first one. The second one is that any attributes that I observe, any attributes, always belong to the known, never to the knower. For example, let us say that I see this cotton candy. This cotton candy, which is called this panjamitai, which is very tempting to the kids. It's got this huge, it looks large and it's pink in color and it looks very tempting to get hold of. So if I see this, I am the knower. This cotton candy is unknown. Clearly, I am very clear. I don't mistake myself for being this cotton candy. Cotton candy is separate from me. Nor are the attributes like the pinkness or this fluffiness of the cotton candy. I don't mistake them to be my attributes. So the line between the knower and the known is very clear to me when I'm looking at this world and various things in the world. So there are various things for which I use pronouns like that, which is far away, or a pronoun like this for something nearby, this pen. And then I also use this word called my, and then I use this word called I. That for something distant, this for something closer, and my for something that I possess, and I for something that I am. So let us take a few examples. I say that star. When I say that star, look at that star. I'm telling somebody who's nearby, look at that star. It's a remote object that I am able to see. So there is no possibility of any confusion here. That's the known. I am the knower. We both are separate. I don't have any confusion here. I never say I am the star, much less mistake the attributes of the star like its brightness or dullness. I don't mistake it to be my attributes. Then let's come to something that is closer. I say this train or this pen, whatever. So I don't mistake that train to be me. Nor do I mistake the attributes of the train like the number of compartments it has, or its length, or its color, etc. I don't mistake it to be my attributes. I am a jnani when it comes to these things. I make no mistake. Now let's come to something that is closer to me, that I actually call mine. So the star I don't call mine, the train I don't call mine. But let's come to the place where I live, that I call my house. So here I call it my house. In that sense, it is different from the star and the train. But I don't say I am this house. Nor do I say the attributes of this house. For example, this house is 5 years old and it's 1,000 square feet, whatever. I don't say those are my attributes. So even with regards to things that I call my, I'm very clear that the known is different from the knower. The attributes of the known belong to the known, never to the knower. Now let's come to something still closer that I call my, which is, for example, this cloth that I am wearing. I can say this is my cloth. This is my clothing. This is really close to me. It's my clothing, my dress. But then here too I'm very clear that this clothing is not me. I don't say I am this clothing. I don't say that this color, for example, this white or beige, whatever it is. I don't say this color of this clothing or this greenish tinge. I don't say I have a greenish tinge just because I'm wearing a green clothing. So far, so good. No confusion. But then let's come to the problem area. This body. So the body is also known to me. Much like how this cloth is known to me, how that train or the star, whatever, just like they were known to me, this body is also known to me. It's known to me. And I say my body also. And it's okay to say my body, just like I say my house or my cloth. I can say my body. At least for the time being, it's okay to say that. As we progress, we will even drop the my with regards to the body. For the time being, we are dealing with this I, and therefore we say that saying my is okay. So when it comes to this body, which is known, it is Drshyam. But then I say I am male. I don't say my body is male. I don't stop with that. I say I am male. I say I am 5 feet 6 inches tall. I say I weigh 60 kgs. So not only am I taking the body to be I say I am this body. I take the attributes of the body to be my attributes. So now it is becoming clearer that my understanding of Drg, the knower, is that the Drg extends up to the perimeter of the body. The knower extends up to the perimeter of the body. Anything outside this body, even this cloth which is hugging the body, I understand very clearly it is not I. But I say, I am this body just millimeters, or in fact 0.01 millimeters away from this cloth is this body, and then I suddenly shift from saying my cloth. I say my body, all right, but I say I am this body. Both are Drshyam. The cloth is Drshyam, this body is Drshyam. But with regards to the cloth, I am very clear. With regards to the body, I say I am the body. There's a huge jump in my understanding, a discontinuity, so to say. It goes from my to I. Now, what Vedanta says is that Drg Drshya Viveka, the Drg Drshya Viveka is the reality, is the truth. Drg Drshyau dvau padarthau staha paraspara vilakshanau. The Drik can never be the Drishyam, the knower can never be the known. So if this body is known, it means there is another knower that is different from the body. There is a knower who is different from this body, who is knowing the body. Just like there is a knower who is different from the star who knows the star, there is a knower different from the train who knows the train, there is a knower different from the cloth that knows the cloth. There is a knower who is different from the body that knows the body. Therefore, it's a mistake to say that knower who is different from the body is the body, and the attributes of the body are the attributes of that knower. So I protest. How can you compare my body to be like my house or my clothing? How can you say both are the same? Because there is a big difference. When this body was born, I was born. Wherever this body goes, I go along with it. If this body sits, I sit. If this body gets up, I get up. And this body is sentient. This cloth is not sentient. This house is not sentient. This body is sentient. This body is conscious. How can you compare this body to be like this clothing or this house which I occupy? Therefore, one argues that it is right to say, I am this body. I don't see why that is a mistake. Vedanta says that you're still making a mistake here. And there are a couple of thought experiments that we can do in this regard. Let us say, and this was pointed out by Swami Tadatmananda, who is a disciple of Pujya Swamiji. And I thought that the way he presented it, that was interesting, so I thought I'd share it here. So suppose I take some medication, and this medication has a strange side effect that makes the nerve endings on my skin, it makes the nerve endings come out of the skin and get attached to the clothing that I am wearing. Suppose the nerve endings now start to get attached to my clothing. Then, if somebody touches my clothing, that will create the same sensation as if somebody is touching the skin. So now, I would start to say that I am this clothing. And I would start to say that this color, this clothing, this beige color, this greenish tint, it belongs to me. I am beige green. Something like that I would start to say. And if somebody now comes with a pair of scissors and start to cut this clothing away, saying, what have you eaten? What have you done to yourself? I'm going to cut this whole thing away. And I'll say, oh yeah, I'm being torn apart. So this sounds absurd, actually. Because I am unaffected by whatever happens to this clothing, really unaffected. But just because it creates a few sensations, I have started to take that to be me. So this points out that the whole reason why I am taking this body to be different from the clothing and the house, etc., is because of this sentiency factor this body has. When the clothing were to become sentient, theoretically, I would take the clothing also to be me. Now let's look at it from the other angle. Let's say I'm given some medication so that I become an insentient head to toe. Insentient. And this happens if we go to a dentist. I mean, of course, it happens in a limited way when you go for a dentist appointment. Then the dentist gives some anesthetic that makes this part of a face and the lips and cheeks, etc., all numb, basically. Even then, sometimes I feel like it looks like something external has been attached to the face. So if I were to become insentient head to toe, well, let's say I'm still conscious, just this sense, this numbness pervades head to toe, then I would look upon this body very much like anything else, like a pot nearby. It would seem to be very similar. So the sentiency of the body is what makes me take this body to be I. So now the question is that is this sentiency on which I'm basing so much of my conclusion that this body is sentient, therefore I am this body. The entire conclusion I have that I am this body, that's based on this sentiency factor. So does this sentiency really belong to the body? Is this sentiency the nature of the body? Just like heat is the nature of fire, sweetness is the nature of sugar. Is the sentiency the nature of the body? So Vedanta asserts, no, it's not. And Vedanta gives two reasons. First one is in the response the Guru gave for Sthula Shariram Kim. Very first thing that was said is Panchikrita Panchamahabhutai Kritam. That this body is made of these five elements, Panchamahabhuta. Akashaha, Vayuhu, Agnihi, Jalam, and Prithvi. None of these are sentient by nature. They are all Jadam. So if we take a pot of boiling water, in this the five elements are there. So somebody may try to argue that the five elements each may be individually Jadam, but perhaps they come together and create some kind of sentience. In fact, that is what is the view of science largely. Science thinks that consciousness can arise out of matter. But Vedanta says that science will keep thinking this for a very long time. But science is wrong here. Consciousness can never be a product of matter. These five elements are material, Jadam. They cannot come together and create consciousness. For example, in a pot of boiling water, the five elements are there. Akashaha, Vayuhu. Akashaha is there because there's a pot. There's some space in the pot. Vayuhu is there because in the boiling water you can see the bubbles. They are the Vayu. Jalam is there, the pot of boiling water. Agni is there, it's hot. Prithvi is there, the pot is Prithvi Tattva. But this pot of boiling water, just because these five elements are there, doesn't become sentient. Okay, maybe not in the case of the pot of boiling water, but what if some fine elements come in, right? Can they produce consciousness? Vedanta says consciousness can never be produced. Consciousness is eternal. It has always been there. Even before the universe came into existence, we say Ishvara was there. Ishvara is that conscious being, the consciousness was there. The consciousness can never be produced by anything coming together. So there is a fundamental principle that as are the causes, so is the effect. And therefore, if the causes are Jadam, the effect will also be Jada. The causes are inert, the effect of them coming together will also be inert. The body is an effect of five elements coming together. Panchikrita Panchamahabhutaih Kritam. The gross elements come together. Gross five elements that have no sentiency of their own, they come together. How can this body be sentient? It is Jada. Then, but our experience is that this body is sentient. We will talk about how sentiency appears in this body. But before that, if the sentiency that we see in the body, if it was the nature of the body, then that sentiency should never depart. Like heat is the nature of fire, sweetness is the nature of sugar. No matter what, you can never separate the heat from fire. You can never separate the sweetness from sugar. Similarly, if this sentiency, this consciousness that I experience, the sensations, the sentiency that I experience in this body, if it was the nature of the body, I should never be able to separate it from the body. But then there are these various states, like we discussed, when one is given some anesthesia, or if one is in coma, or one just becomes unconscious. Somebody gets hit on the head, falls down unconscious. There you touch the person, you slap the person, there is no response. Some people sleep so soundly that it looks like they are in coma or they are unconscious, sleeping like a log of wood. You slap this person, still doesn't get up. In these states, clearly the body is insentient, doesn't respond to the sensations that you try to bring from outside. And finally, there is death. Well, we can say these states one may come and come out of, go get into and come out of. But death is an irreversible entry into insentiency for the sthula sharira. That cannot be reversed. So these indicate that sentiency departs the body also. Therefore, sentiency cannot be the nature of the body. We gave two reasons. One is that the causes that come together are insentient. They can never produce something that is sentient. And second is that the sentiency that we observe also is not the nature of the body because it departs the body under various states and circumstances. So then the question is, how does this sentiency then appear in the body? If you're saying this sentiency is not the nature of the body is Jadam by nature, then how does it behave so it's so much sentiency? We say that if, for example, there is a person who is going around with in a new car, in a new house, and wearing very nice dresses. This person is behaving like a rich man. But you know this person is a pauper. He doesn't have anything, really speaking. So our experience is that he is behaving like a rich man. He has got all these things that a rich man has. But then you know for a fact that this person is a pauper. He doesn't have anything of his own. So how do you explain this? The only explanation is that he has inherited something or somebody has lent him something. In fact, the second expression is better, that he has been lent the money, because you can say inherited money becomes his own in some ways. So somebody has lent him this money that he is using. Similarly, here, this body is sentient experientially. I see it as being sentient. But then, really speaking, it is Jadam. It has no sentiency of its own. So how do we explain it? The only explanation is that the sentiency that I see is borrowed sentiency. This consciousness that I see in the body, it is borrowed consciousness. Then the question is, who's the lender of consciousness? Who's the one who's lending consciousness to the body? Vedanta says, you the Drg, you the Atma, are lending consciousness to this body. The Atma is the nature of Sat Chit. Atma is the one whose nature is consciousness. There is nothing else here whose nature is consciousness. Everything else only that appears to be conscious only has borrowed consciousness, borrowed from Atma, borrowed from you, borrowed from this I. That is the Atma. Just like the moon, on a Purnami night, the moon is capable of illuminating the earth. There's a dark forest somewhere, no light anywhere. Suddenly the moon rises. Purnami night. It gently illuminates that entire forest. But then the moonlight, it is light that is on the moon, but that light is not off the moon. The light really belongs to the sun. The sun illuminates the moon. And then the moon appears to be a luminary. The moon is not self-luminous. The moon's luminosity is borrowed luminosity. But with the borrowed luminosity, it's able to illumine other things. Similarly, the sentiency of this body is not inherent sentiency, it is borrowed sentiency, and with this it's able to know a few other things. But because I don't know of this separation of this Drg and Drshyam, I don't know that there is another knower who is knowing this body. There is a Drg, the body is Drshyam, there is a Drg, that is the knower, separate from the body. Because I don't know about this, I mistake the body itself to be me. I mistake the body to be I. And I take on the attributes of the body to be my attributes. So the body goes through various states. This example is given in the Dakshinamurti Stotram. So Balyadishu, it goes through these avasthas like Balyam, Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara. It goes through the state of where one is an infant. Balyam, Kaumaram, boyhood, infancy, boyhood, youth, and middle age. And finally, Vardhakyam, old age, Jara. So the body goes through all of these states. And each state displaces the other state. One cannot be in two states simultaneously. When one enters Kaumaram, then the Balyam, the infant state, is given up. One becomes a boy or a girl from an infant. Boyhood, girlhood, childhood, basically. And then when one enters youth, it displaces the other states. But it doesn't displace the I. The I is there in all of these states. When I was an infant, I was there. In my boyhood, I was there. In my youth, I was there. I say that the same I who is here now was there as an infant, as a boy, as a young person. The same I was there. So this knower, this Drik, was there as the infant that is separate from the body. This body being Drshyam, the knower who is separate from the Drshyam, the Drik was there when I was an infant, the Drik was there when I was a boy, the Drik was there when I was young, the Drik is there when I am middle aged, the Drik is there when I am old. So here when we do the Drg Drshya Viveka, we say that the Drik is separate from the Drshyam and the attributes of the Drshyam belong to the Drshyam, never to the Drik, the Atma, the I. So the infancy belongs to the infant body, the boyhood belongs to the body, the youth, the state of being young belongs to the body, the state of being middle-aged belongs to the body, the state of being old belongs to the body. The Drik is always separate. The knower is always separate. These attributes do not belong to the knower, the Drik, the Atma, the I. They are contradictory attributes. When I was an infant, I was probably 3 feet, 2.5 feet tall. But then as a middle-aged person, this person is 6 feet 2 inches tall. Contradictory attributes. How can contradictory attributes exist in the same thing? They cannot. If the attribute belonged to the Drik, the knower, then the knower should have the attribute of being 2 feet tall as an infant and should continue to have that attribute even when this person has become 6 feet 2 inches tall. But both contradictory attributes cannot exist in the same entity. And one is young, one is old. Again, contradictory attributes. As an infant, I was a student. As a young and middle-aged person, I'm employed. An old person, retired. Again, contradictory attributes. They belong to this body. They don't belong to the knower of the body, the Drg. As a young person, I was very healthy. As an old person, now I'm falling sick more often. I'm not as healthy. Again, contradictory attributes. So this Drg, the Atma, the I, am really neither young nor old, neither healthy nor sick, neither short nor tall. In fact, this Atma, this Drg, is attributeless. But I mistake the attributes of the body to be my attributes, and therefore I say, I am short, I am tall, I am a student, I am employed, I am retired, I am healthy, I am unhealthy. All of this is a result of a mix-up of the Drg and the Drshyam. So Atma Jnanam is not some special experience of the Atma. Atma Jnanam is a clear understanding that the attributes of the Drshyam belong to the Drshyam, never to the Atma. To me, to the I. In all of my experiences, the Atma is there. Atma Jnanam is not some special experience. In all of my experiences, the Drg is there, the Atma is there, the I is there. In all of my experiences, the body is also there. But as Swamiji says, Atma Jnanam is a reclassification of the attributes. Handing over the attributes of the Drshyam to the Drshyam, never saying, I have those attributes. Just as a red flower that is placed next to a crystal, the crystal gets this redness. So this redness of the crystal doesn't belong to the crystal. The redness belongs to the flower. It only seems to appear in the crystal, but it doesn't really affect the crystal. Now just imagine a flower that is placed next to the crystal. And this flower is somewhat strange that the flower changes colors as it ages. So the first day it appears reddish. And the second day it takes on a brownish tinge. And the third day it appears orange. So the crystal also takes on these colors, apparently takes on these colors. It appears red, it appears orange, it appears brown. But then fundamentally, this redness, brownness, orangeness doesn't belong to the crystal. Because the crystal is fundamentally colorless. That is its nature. Its nature cannot be altered. Similarly, this Atma, this Drg is there. When I was an infant, when I am young, when I am middle-aged, when I am old, the Drg is always there. But all of these states really belong to the body, not to the Drg, the Atma. But then a child who is ignorant of the colorless nature of the crystal will say that the crystal is now red, the crystal is now orange, the crystal is now brown. Similarly, a person who is ignorant of the Atma will say, I am an infant, I am now young, I am now middle-aged, I am now old. But when one understands that Atma cannot have these contradictory attributes, Atma is attributeless. There has to be the reclassification of the attributes that I am taking upon myself. They really belong to the Drshyam, to the body, not to me. And this person knows that all of this is just an appearance, not the reality. Just like these colors appear in the crystal, they are not the reality. Similarly, these states appear in Atma, but they don't belong to the Atma. The body goes through these changes. Asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. It goes through childhood, middle age, old age, and finally it perishes. But none of these changes belong to the Atma, the Drik, the knower, the I. The whole reason why I am not able to understand the statement Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti. I protested, saying I am so puny. How can I be the Satyam? It's because one has not done this Drg Drshya Viveka. This prakriya has to be contemplated on. And then I begin to see that I am really separate from this body. The limitations of the body don't belong to me. When one understands that I am a principle that is separate from the body, then I become more open to what Vedanta is saying, that I am really that Satyam Brahma. Then only this one gets foot, that one gets one's foot in the door to open the door to the message of Vedanta. So this understanding is the key to Purnatvam. I have to come to Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti. But to understand that, I have to see that this I am really, this Atma, am really different from this mix up that I have done with the body. That the Drik is separate from the Drishya. This vichara has to be done first before one can assimilate Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti. When one sees that these attributes of the body are the body's attributes, not my attributes, then that is the key to the freedom from the sense of apurnatvam that arises out of this body. The body goes through various states and stages that can bring in apurnatva, that can make me feel incomplete. But this understanding, this Drg Drshya Viveka, helps me see that I am really something separate from this, and therefore whatever happens to the body belongs to the body. They have no reason to make me apurna. In this vichara, Drg Drshya Viveka, followed by Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti, is the key to moksha. With this, I'll conclude our discussion today. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.